I've got a little spot called Keys to Kicking the Habit, and I thought I'd just start with a little testimony, sort of a 1 minute. This is like the power testimony on how I actually gave up smoking. And if you don't know me, before I was a Christian, I actually gave up. I've given up heroin and methadone and alcohol and marijuana and a few other things in amongst it. And when I became a Christian, I just smoked cigarettes. But my first husband, Max, who actually, he used to drink a lot. And this one day, we were newly Christians and Max was on a big alcohol bender. And I really felt, I'd caught the idea of praying to Jesus in the authority of Christ. So I sort of felt this welling up inside me. And I said, God, I break the spirit of addiction over my house. And my husband continued to drink and I think laugh a bit, and Karen and I thought, oh, okay, so much for that. And I went to bed that night and just thought nothing had happened. At 2 o'clock in the morning, I woke up and I was violently ill, and I vomited like I've probably never vomited in my life before. And you know, I haven't smoked a cigarette since. I think God heard my prayer and he said, sure, Sal, I'll break the spirit of addiction in your house. So I've shared that with you in the sense, as Kath said, to just remind us that God, he is concerned and he wants to get personal with us in regard to our bad habits. So if I'm a somewhat dubious, I've got sticky. If I'm a dubious expert on the subject of habits and addictions and compulsions, you'll be pleased to hear that I actually know the number one reason why we don't give up our bad habits. Do you want to know what it is? Yeah. No. It's the number one reason we don't give up our bad habits is that on some level we actually don't want to. We really don't want to. You'll also be pleased to hear that I know the number one surefire way for you to kick your bad habit, okay, and that is to actually change the way you think about it. All right, so what I want to challenge you tonight is to, you know that thing, and probably we've all got them, where you know that you're supposed to do something about it, but you don't really want to. Just hold that thing in your head tonight as I'm speaking and weigh it up for yourself and see what I have to say. Okay, you know, the Bible doesn't actually use the word addiction or compulsion at all, but it does talk a lot about gluttony and idolatry. Okay, now gluttony is not just about eating. Gluttony talks about a natural aspect of our life that has gotten out of control. It's gotten excessive and compulsive. So drinking, smoking, eating, some of our sexual impulses. Shopping can be gluttonous and excessive in our lives. Idolatry, sorry girls, I'm sorry, I know, it hurts. And idolatry is actually when we place importance on something above its ability. Okay, so we're placing it above God to make us feel better, to heal us, to comfort us or relieve us. So having said that, wait, there's more, sorry. When we're talking about addictions then, just from this is in my personal sense, there's two categories that we have to deal with. And that's number one, the first category is those things that are actually life-threatening and they serve no purpose to us whatsoever. So that's your non-prescribed drugs, alcohol addiction. I would put smoking in this category, where in that sense it doesn't help us in any way. And really the bottom line in those situations is that we have to totally eliminate them from our lives. Okay, so that's that category one. And if you're dealing with those sorts of things, you're more than welcome to come and chat with me afterwards. But this talk also will apply and give you some keys. And the second category is things that I suppose probably apply to more of us and I get more questions about. And that's the things which are a part of our life, like eating or whatever, where we can't actually totally eliminate them. You can't say, right, that's it. I've got an issue with eating, so I'm never going to eat again. Sometimes it would seem easier, wouldn't it? Or shopping. Now, the good news is that the answer to overcoming both of the categories is the same. It's, as I said before, it's actually about changing the way we think. So what I'm going to do right now, hopefully, is challenge some of our thinking. All right. There are three 3 reasons. Maybe you've got all of these reasons, or maybe you can think of some of your own, but reasons why we turn to bad habits or addictions. And the first one, these are not in any particular order, but the first one is for reward. I don't know if you've ever said to yourself, I'll just do the dishes and then I'll sit down and have a nice cuppa and a cake. You've actually made your bad habit a reward. Okay? So, yeah. Here's the challenge. Oh no, it's a baby, it's okay. Here's a challenge. If you really wanted to reward yourself, you think at Girls Zone we give away lots of goodies and stuff. Can you imagine if I said, guess what? The person with number 36 under their seat gets a pound of fat. Yay! Thank you. Okay, so if you really want to reward yourself, give yourself a positive, good reward. If you wouldn't give it to me as a present, don't give it to yourself as a present. Okay. The second, and that counts also, like credit card debt, anxiety about things like that. If again, you don't give those things to yourself. Then the second reason, so we've got reward. The second reason that we can turn to those things is for comfort. And again, this is pretty similar. You could say to yourself, have you ever said something like, well, I don't go on big expensive holidays. We don't go out a lot, but I just have my smokes. So what if I have my smokes? Or whatever, fill in the gap with your thing you've got in your head there. What you're really saying to yourself in that instance is, poor me. Oh, poor me. Okay? You've made your bad habit your comfort. And the challenge is the same. Is that what you really think you deserve? Can you imagine? Would you comfort a small child in the same way you comfort yourself? Imagine that. Come here, darling. Here. So we've got reward. We've got comfort. Don't answer, please. And the third one is distraction. Now, distraction in turning to using our bad habits is for distractions. And these are the times when we're just bored, we're frustrated, or we've just plain had enough, and we turn to our bad habits to distract ourselves. And I've got here, I was busy the other day and I was going from one thing to another, and in amongst it, I actually scoffed a whole box of Smarties. I was just crunching through them. And I realised that I hadn't even really registered, I hadn't enjoyed them. I hadn't registered that I'd eaten them. It was just a distraction. Okay, so I can't believe I put this, but I did. If your bad habit is a distraction, it's about on a par to picking your nose. And maybe picking your nose would be a lot cheaper. Okay. Sorry. I have 5 children, so the humour level's down here, hey. Okay, so I do want to say too that distraction can become an area of idolatry for us as well. So that's an aspect where you really need to check your own heart and go, God, Now having said all this, I've actually just put some really simple little handles, because what we're talking about is delayed gratification. What we actually want to do is break that compulsion, okay, that bad aspect where in our bad habits we're just on automatic pilot, all right? So here's just some random points, all right? Make it hard for yourself. If you smoke cigarettes, throw the packet on top of the wardrobe, or the chockies, or the credit card, or whatever it is. So if you really want it, that's fine, you can go get it. You've just got to make it harder on yourself. You have to actually stop and think about it to go and get it. All right, change your pattern. The hardest smoke to give up is the after dinner smoke. Okay, so get up, do something different. All right, set boundaries for yourself. Like, I love to play games with myself. No eating in the car. That's not because I'm tidy, but just to set some boundaries, okay? No eating unless you do it with a knife and a fork or things like that. Anything that will help you to actually stop and pause before you do it. Say grace. Grace is about stopping, looking at that packet of Smarties, thank you, Lord, and eating them and enjoying them. If you're going to eat them, enjoy them. Have you ever got back from the shops and wondered, why did I buy all that stuff? Or found yourself at the shops after an argument? Okay. So here's a key. Throw away the junk mail before you look at it. Don't buy anything until you've thought about it for 24 hours. It will still be there. There will be another special. Okay. And finally, this is the one probably that really, really helped me, and that is to think of someone in your own life, not a movie star or anyone like that, but actually someone who lives in your world that you respect and that you look up to, and ask yourself each time you get in that situation, would I give them this thing? That thing that you give yourself, would you give it to that person? Would you do it in front of them? And how would you feel if you actually saw that person doing that thing? Just like say those things, just to break that compulsion, to break that automatic pilot, okay? And hopefully with that, you'll actually be able to kick your bad habit.